CardGamesTV1 Podcast, Unpredictability. One of the things that gives me an advantage, or in any card game, is my unpredictability. Most people don't know what my decks can do or what's in my decks most of the time, so that gives me what's called the element of surprise. The other factor is how I play, the decisions I make. Sometimes I'll make a play or a decision that's like I deliberately make a what would be perceived as a bad play by most players. I would make it on purpose, and it will actually be a good play because of the intended results of it. The intended result is to throw my opponent off, right? If I make a bad play and my opponent, notices that it's a bad play, they might get into a false sense of security, might think that, oh shit, you made a bad play, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity, and then end up falling into a trap, right? So it's the mind game aspect. Because I do many different things when I play. One of the things that I do is mind traps. Mind traps, mind games, whatever you want to call it. And that's a factor. I make it look like I'm going to negate an attack, or I'm going to combo, or something of that nature, right? Or I might make it look like I'm going to attack because I put my hands on top of a card, and it makes it look like I'm going to switch it sideways to swing, but instead I might decide to just be like, all right, end my turn. So now my opponent's a little confused because at first they're like, oh, I thought he was going to attack. And they might have moved and positioned their hand, as if they were going to tap for a negate, and now I know they have a negate. Especially if I suspect that they might have like a violent raise or something. It's like, I'll wait. I'm not trying to, not necessarily violent raise. Let's say a topo or something. Like, I'm not interested in letting my opponent get a 20k body down on the ground, right on board. So I'll wait. Next turn, I'll try to force the topo out their hand, or maybe using an effect to rip it out their hand, since I pretty much have a feeling that they do have it. That kind of stuff. Or maybe an Oceanus. You get the idea. I position to in a way that gives the impression I'm going to attack, but in fact I do not. But my opponent, body language, right, gave the impression that they're going to try to stop my attack. So I'll take those things into account. Other stuff that I do is obviously look at my opponent's energy, and I determine, right, if those are extra copies of cards that's in their hand. So I use their energies to kind of give me a view of their hand. So now I have some hand knowledge because I looked at their energy. Most people don't do that. Most people don't make videos and put it out there and be talking about like, oh, make sure you look at your opponent's energy, or even make videos about like, try not to charge extra copies of cards, especially if they're like really important key cards. Or don't charge your win con, right? Even if it's an extra copy, don't charge it, because you're giving your strategy away. Especially if this is game one, you definitely don't want to charge like your win con. Like when I was playing my Zamasu Android 17 Turn of Tides deck, I try not to charge Android 17 Turn of Tides game one, right? So I would end up with like 2 or 3 copies in my hand, because I'm trying not to charge it, because I don't want to give away that I have it. But as soon as I get a chance to play, I'm like, all right, charge one of them as energy. Now I have 7 energy, tap, turn its tides, bang, right? As an example. So now it's already too late for my opponent to try to prepare for turning in tides, because they didn't know I had it. But now, since I played it in game one, now they know I have it, so there's no reason to try to hide it, right? So that kind of mindset. So you always try to hide your lines of play, right? Game one, because if your opponent doesn't know what your deck does, then you got that advantage. And since I build my own decks, I don't net deck, right? There's a high possibility no one knows what's in my deck until I actually play cards. So on average, I think only 1, maybe 2 times I didn't win game one. But typically I win game one. Because they don't know what my deck can do until they find out. And once they find out, then of course they get to side in, they'll try to have stuff to try to beat me and all that stuff, and they'll try to play different, right? They'll change up the way they play, which is good. They should do that. They should change their lines of play and their way of thinking, because they know how I'm gonna win. So they better try to stop me, right? Let's see. So there's that, right? It's, my decks are, built by me, so they're already unpredictable. Another thing is that I have certain play styles, right? One play style in particular, which is essentially just playing aggro, but it has evolved over time. But mainly I just mainly play aggro. I have no problem dealing my opponent 4+ damage and letting them awaken early in the game. So they'll be at 2 life or even 1 life by the time we get down to turn 3 or 4. So that's what I typically do, especially if I'm playing red. If I'm playing other colors, if I incorporate an aggro strategy, like a couple aggro cards, like some people might remember back in the day, the Bodyguard Legic and Chomp and Supreme Kai stuff, where I would have 4 copies of each of those cards in every one of my decks. So there's 12 cards slotted in each of my decks for those cards. No matter what color I'm playing, no matter if I'm playing blue, yellow, black, green, whatever, I would have 4 Bodyguard Legics, 4 Champas, 4 Supreme Kai. That was my aggro package. Most people remember me saying that back in the day. Aggro package. It still is a package, still a strategy I could use, but I have leaned towards more a skillless strategy. So that's the evolution. Is I've started doing a more aggro thing. So for those who notice, I play the Goku Jr., Vegeta Jr., Saiyan Scions, and I use that as my aggro package. So 4 copies of the Unison, obviously, and 4 skillless battle cards. And when I mulligan, I make sure I put the skillless battle cards back in my deck, because the idea is to bring them out through Saiyan Scions ability. So as soon as turn 1, I can swing with Saiyan Scions, right? -1, bring out 2 10k skillless, swing with those 2. More likely they're gonna hit, and they typically do. So that's 3 damage off of 1 card. So 1 energy, I did 3 damage just with 1 card. See, in order to do 3 damage on turn 1 with 1 energy, I would need Bodyguard Legic and a Champa or a Supreme Kai, and I would need the leader swing, right? Just so I can do 3 damage. So I would need those 2 cards plus the leader, right, to do 3 damage, right? Because I'll swing with the leader, Champa, so the opponent takes 2 damage, then swing with Bodyguard Legic, my opponent takes 1 more damage, and that's 3 damage for 1 energy. But it required 2 cards. But also requires my opponent to play a 1-drop turn 1. So if my opponent doesn't play a 1-drop turn 1, the best I could do is just 2 damage with my leader and a Champa. So you see the math of 2 and 3 at best, just with those cards. So not a bad strategy, but it's not it's not better than the Saiyan Scion strategy, right? Because with the Saiyan Scion strategy, I just play it, swing 10, right? Bring out 2 more 10s, swing with them, so that's 3 damage off of 1 card, and then swing my leader. So right there, that's 4 damage. Let's say my leader has double strike, so bang, that'd be 5 damage. So off of 1 unison and 1 energy, and if my leader has double strike, or it could burn, like my Burn Han leader, or the leader, or like I said, the leader has double strike or something, right? Or dual attack or some ability to deal more damage, I can go from 4. I can go from 4 to 5. So just with the unison and 1 energy, I can do essentially 4 damage turn 1. So the fact that I can consistently do 4 damage turn 1, or at least output 4 damage. Of course, my opponent could try to out combo the attacks. Obviously, 5k combo power is all you need to stop my attack. Since I typically don't combo when I swing with those, because that's just a waste of resources. But you get my point, is the fact that with 1 card and 1 energy, I can output 4 damage, which is why I play that more now as my aggro package than the Champa and stuff like that. still think about them. I still consider it sometimes, trying to bring that strategy back. But the thing is, it's all about evolution and evolving and improving, right? And I've said it many times in past videos, podcasts, that the first 2 turns is the best time to do the most amount of damage, because your opponent doesn't negate as much. There ain't no floodgate negates like that's worth playing anyway. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 and above is when it's the best time to play. Floodgate negates. You don't have to worry about body baby hat check until your opponent has 3 energy, right? You don't have to worry about most like turn 2, for example. Like the fact that I do a lot more, like 4 more damage turn 1, so that way turn 2 I could try to get like 1 or 2 extra damage and bring my opponent down to 2 like by turn 2. By then, if they drop a Tobo, all right, cool, you drop a Tobo, turn 2, good for you. But now you won't have it for for like turn 3 and turn 4, because turn 3 now I can start dropping my floodgate negates, right? My baby Gohan's baby's minions, right? My Oceanus is still having energy for a negate, right? Especially if it's like Dimension Magic or something, right? Go extra busted. Tons of options once you get to 3 energy and above. So, the fact that once I get to 4 energy, right, that's 2 Oceanuses, right? I can double dip on that, or a Topo and an Oceanus, right? That kind of stuff. So the point is, after turn 1 and 2, dealing damage gets harder. Not impossible, obviously, but gets harder because of more energy for more options, for more possible negates. And this is why I've been, promoting the idea of playing things that have dual attack. They can attack more than once, because you're trying to bypass the negates, right? But more reason why I promote using floodgate negates, right? Because if your opponent has the ability to attack, multiple times, you want to stop those extra attacks, right? It's better than trying to stop one attack at a time. Try to stop every possible attack that can come at you. Try to stop an overown play, right? That might pop up out of nowhere, or an EX Evolve type of play, or something like that, right? Or Union Fusion play, or the list goes on, right? You want to try to, prevent the possibility the opponent might bring out extra attackers after you already stopped a couple of attacks already. So that kind of stuff. And then sometimes you just gotta take a hit. Sometimes I can't stop every attack. I'll try with a floodgate negate, right? But I can't stop every attack. So sometimes you gotta take a hit, right? You gotta take damage. You gotta take damage in order to prevent damage, if that makes sense, right? And that's where like sparking negates come into play, right? Where you take a life in order to stop a double strike, right? That way you're taking damage to prevent damage, right? Or at least a lot of damage, as it were. But yeah, being unique and innovative, trying to do things for the sake of being different. Sometimes you might find a card that is that costs one less than a card that is popular, that people use, or you might find a card that's good enough. Like for example, recently I found an extra card that, ironically, somebody was trying to play it against me online. So I actually have gameplay of me playing somebody, and they were trying to use that card against me, and it was a counterplay. It was a 2 energy blue counterplay. It's some Goku Black card or something. Anyway, so it's basically a God Sealing Trunks. It's an extra card that kind of works like God Sealing Trunks, but it hits a 4 cost or less. So it's not as strong as God Sealing Trunks, obviously, but you do need a blue unison in order to play it. So that, as an example, is like, okay, that costs. Granted, God Sealing Trunks is free and it's better. Well, not saying that this 2-drop extra card is better. I'm just saying that it is an option. Especially if you already have 5 God Sealing Trunks, why not have an extra card that works like God Sealing Trunks, right? A card that can hit at least 4 costs or less, right? If I'm right, you gotta pitch 2 cards in order, right? I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think you gotta pitch 2 cards in order to play it. But of course, when you play it, you draw a card, so you replace one of the cards you pitched, and you need a blue unison in order to play it, obviously. And then, but it doesn't matter the markers. It could have 1 marker and you can still play it. That's the one of the pros for it versus con, right? when it comes to comparing it to Godsling trucks. The point is, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I mean, Gosling's better, but in certain regards. But what I'm saying is that it's subjectable. Oh, the thing about the extra card is that the battle card goes to the bottom of your opponent's deck, so that could be a pro in case you rather, instead of bouncing a card back to your opponent's hand, you rather put it at the bottom of the deck. So that's a pro for it. The point is playing stuff different that most people might not expect, most people might not think about. At least if you don't main deck this type of card, at least side decking it would be an option. I don't side deck, so I have to main deck it if I want to use it. But for those who do like to side deck, this would be an option that you can consider. And like I said, most people don't consider a lot of other stuff. They're too busy net decking or copying off other people or just waiting for somebody else to figure out the next spice, right, the next sauce, and then just copy it, use it. Instead of them trying to figure things out themselves, they just rather wait until somebody else, with the big brain, ideas, as they say. Teach them, right? That gives me a job, right? That gives me something to do, as it were, because I do all the big brain stuff and then I share it. Obviously, there'll be some people that disagree that I'm sharing big brain ideas, but teach them. Point is, I do my best to try to stand out try to be ahead of the game is what I meant to say. I try to be ahead of the game, do things before anyone else does, do things that are hard to prepare for, it's hard to side against me. Not impossible, obviously, I am playing Dragon Ball Super, so, anything that will work generically against certain decks should work against me. I do, of course, try to make sure that a lot of the popular cards, like Floodgate cards and counterplays and stuff like that, are less effective. Something I just recently remembered, because it's been a while since somebody played Charismatic Villain Frieza on me, but I just recently heard its effect, and it's like it hits 7 costs or less. I'm like, oh yeah, forget that it does 7 costs or less. I always think of it as it just KOs any battle card. So that's why I want cards that have barrier to be immune to Charismatic Villain Frieza, right? But I did forget that it hits 7 and lower, so it's like, oh okay, which means a lot of my 8 drops that don't have barrier are actually safe from it. So I shouldn't hesitate to use 8 drops, especially 8 drops that I can cheat out, so I don't have to worry about Charismatic and Frieza when I'm using my Gogeta, because I have a Zamasu Gogeta deck and I just uploaded the profile for it. So the fact that the Gogetas are 8, which is why I was even remembering the whole Charismatic and Frieza thing, because my teammate, he just got his play set of Charismatic and Friezas, and he read the effect and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that it does 7 or less. I thought it just does any battle card. Yeah, it does 7 or less. So it's like, okay, so most of my 8 drops are safe from it. That's good to know. When I play against a green deck and I see a Unison, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to worry about Charismatic and Frieza because I'm dropping 8 drops, right? As an example. There's Heroes Lineage, which does 7 or less, so of course, I'm safe by playing 8 drops in that scenario. If I'm going up against Baby Hatchiyak, not Baby Hatchiyak, I said it wrong. I meant the Hatchiyak leader. Playing 8 drops, obviously that allows me to get extra attacks. Especially my Gogeta is an 8 drop 30k double strike dual attack, so it's an 8 drop that can attack twice. So that's pretty nice. So that means I could get a battle card swing that's less than 8, obviously, to swing first, and then start swinging twice with my 8 drop 30k double strike 8 drop, right? And just swing, get those 2 extra attacks in, right? So that kind of stuff. These are small little things I consider. I consider ways to defend against these types of strategies, but I also think of ways to use these types of strategies, right? So I'm always thinking on both sides. That's the thing. I think of how can I word it? I think of how I can spam, right? Or how I can go off, but I also think of the counter to it, if that makes sense. Right? Not only can I dish it out, I can take it, right? So I can dish out these, you know, really strong strategies, strong combos and ideas, but I also have the kryptonite for it, right? I have a way to counter it. So not only can I play these strong, cards, I can beat them, right? Let's see. Ironically, I've played against Hatchak a couple times before, and of course, being a Hatchak player myself, you know, it was just familiar. It was just familiar. It was just familiar territory for me, so it wasn't a problem. Same thing as it reminds me when I was playing that guy who was playing Dripku, and you know, he was surprised how effective and natural it felt. How natural I was battling with Unison. It was like, yeah, most people know me for playing a lot of Unison, so I would be, I guess, classified as a Unison master. I've been playing Unisons for a long, long time since they came out, and I've been playing them in large numbers in a single deck. So Dripku is nothing new to me. It's pretty much a wannabe version of all my decks I've ever built with a whole bunch of Unisons, right? So I'm not new to the ways of the Unison, as they say. So, and that right there just shows, you know, how ahead of the game I am, right? So much so that eventually Bandai was like, yeah, let's create decks where, you know, you can maximize and take advantage of the Unisons and stuff. The funny thing is, I wish I could remember what video I was saying that stuff. I was talking about, like, you know, a Unison eccentric deck, like the ability, like, make it where you could play multiple Unisons in a turn. Maybe make it where there's an extra zone, right, where you can have an extra Unison or some shit like that. I was saying stuff like that. I was talking about the idea of, like, it'd be nice if you could transfer the markers from the first Unison to the next Unison you play. That would be nice, you know. So because then the irony that, yeah, we got decks that play multiple Unisons in a turn, and has the mechanic called Empowered. So it's like, I guess Bandai has been listening to my stuff. Because I do remember talking about that long time ago. I think that was the time when I did the whole 60 card Unison deck, and I was doing the extra Unison deck thing, where the idea was to, you know, to play one Unison a turn at least. I mean, the Unisons I was playing were high cost. I think I did mention that if they made, you know, some good one-drop Unisons, you know, it'd be nice because I'd be able to play, you know, multiple one-drop Unisons in a single turn. So, I got what I wanted, right? Because I remember the first time the Dripku was announced and spoiled and stuff like that. You know, some people did mention that, you know, mention me and mention the fact that, oh shit, you know, there's finally an archetype based off of, you know, the way I play, which is with a whole bunch of Unisons, which I don't disagree with. So that's a thing. Just like before launching, KP was a thing. You know, I was out here rocking X-hit combo strategies, doing multiple damage turn one, which is why I was talking about the whole Saint Scion thing, which was an evolution of the idea of, you know, Bodyguard Ledric and, you know, Champa and Nappa super combo and stuff like that, like, you know, free plays, and of course, what is that, Awakened Warrior Bardock, you know, over on 4, and what's that, 15k Bardock Resolute. He's 15k double strike, so when I burn my opponent with the Gohan leader, I can play for free. So I'm able to get out multiple attacks. So the ability to do like 10 plus damage in turn one, you know, it's the kind of stuff that I'm doing. So most people who, you know, watch my videos, you know that, you know, that's the kind of shit I was doing. But that's why it's still so funny to hear some people still think that I'm not good at the game, even though it's like, okay, you can think I'm not good at the game, but look what I can do. You know, I can do really good in a game with 60 Unisons. I can do good in a game with just extra cards and Unisons and no combo power, right? In the 60 card Unison deck, definitely there's no combo power in there, right? and I did really good with that. And there's gameplays of that on my channel. And then, the fact that I was able to showcase that I can play, well, obviously without super combos, I can play without having to combo offensively, only defensively, but barely combo because I'm just like using cards that act as combo power but isn't combo power. So I'm not giving up any battle cards in order to combo defensively. And that's where the 4-star ball strategy comes in, or the endless combo as I call it. So if you check out my channel and you see the stuff that I talk about, I got a masterclass video series which explains a lot of my concepts, especially the endless combo, the X-hit combo strategies, a lot of my other strategies and concepts that I created, to play the game, to be able to have advantage and to have some play styles that do things different than what people were currently doing. Now, some of those strategies are kind of not let me put it, the fact that Bandai has incorporated a lot of these ideas into the game, it makes them less special, right? in the regards that, well, since playing a whole bunch of unisons is a thing now, it's it's less special that that's what I do, right? Less special that I play a lot of unisons because tons of other people are doing it. So stuff that I used to do that made me different now is becoming the norm, is what I'm trying to say. So what made me different, what made me stand out, now is becoming the norm. I mean, there was even a time like last year, some people were just, were telling me, even in videos and streams and stuff, that I even point out the fact that, yeah, there was a couple of decks they played without super combos because they didn't need it in the deck and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, cool. I appreciate that people, admit that, yeah, you don't always need super combos. You can play certain decks. Somebody admitted that they don't play super combos in the Dark Broly deck. That makes sense. You have a whole bunch of free 30k beat sticks. Why would you waste space for super combos when you don't need to combo at all, right? Your opponent is the one that has to work and they need super combos to outcombo your 30k beat sticks. You need to worry about other stuff, like play stuff that power ups, like free 30k beat sticks, right? And then use Champa or Eastern Supreme Kai instead of super combos is way smarter. 40k double strike at your opponent's face is a way better strategy than 40k because you play a super combo to your opponent's face. That's just one damage. That's whack. I'd rather double strike my opponent with a 40k double strike, which is a smarter, better strategy because it works. If it didn't work, I wouldn't recommend it, obviously. A lot of my ideas, my strategies, they work, which is why I share them. And I'm always trying to find ways to be faster, to speed the game up. Right now, I'm doing this whole hand control thing, or hand destruction, as I call it, because hand control is a little bit different. It's just, rebrand and stuff like that. You're slowly picking at your opponent's hand, so that's why it's hand control, right? Trying to control their hands, but I'm really just going straight to the whole hand destruction. So the idea is deal my opponent a lot of damage, right? 6 or 7. 6 or 7, or just 4, because I can kill them when they have 4 or more life. I mean, I've killed somebody when they only have 5, when they have 5 life. But the point is get them to a low life, a life that you can manage to take away in one turn. So the idea is to at least reduce their life by half, right? So at least 4 damage, and then go from there, right? Rip their whole hand apart, right? With one strategy. I'm doing chain Zeno, so chain attack Trunks with Zeno, playing God. So I'm doing that, so it rips my opponent's hand, takes my opponent's hand size down to 5 cards, right? Cell, I actually have my cell deck right here that I'm working on. My cell deck that'll rip my opponent's hand down to 3, right? And then I use Android 18 super combo to rip more cards out of my opponent's hand. Use my Vegito Unison to rip, if I have 7 markers, rip 3 cards out their hand and hit them for 1 damage, right? So that should put them in kill range really easily for Cell to finish them off. Plus, I still will play an Overrealm just so I can make sure I have, I can get the final, I could get a, the one-hitter quitter in there, right? Get a hit it there and finish my opponent off. What else? The Ender 17 turn time switch will just completely empty out my opponent's hand, obviously. So that's like 3 things right now. The 4th one, because I know there's a couple other cards that I'm looking into, but the 4th one is the Gogeta that's in my Zamasu deck, which I have right here. That one, I can't rip my opponent's hand. I can't reduce my opponent's hand size down to 3 on my turn. It's at the end of my opponent's turn, so it gives them a chance to try to avoid their hand getting ripped down to 3, or at least they'll have to try to use as many cards in their hands as possible on their turn before their turn ends, because they're going to end up losing, a lot of cards. So they should try to use it at least as combo power when they attack on their turn before my effect goes off and reduces their hand size, right? And then the idea is to go for game next turn. And I'm playing Zamasu, so I have double life, so the likelihood of them, being able to make, and the fact that I could play it sooner than later, that's the extra part. That compared to Selzeno and Enter 17 turn ties, it's a much easier strategy to play, because all I need is my opponent to have 3 energy. All I need is 3 energy, so I can bring out my 8-drop. Because I bring out my 5-drop for 1 energy, and then evolve on top of it with 2 energy. And all I need is a 1-drop Goku and a 1-drop Vegeta in my drop, which is not that hard, because the idea is you mulligan to make sure you have 1 of each in your hand, right? And then there is a Goku that's a Goku and Vegeta same synergy. So there's a 1-drop negate that has both Goku and Vegeta as the character name, right? So just 2 of those will count as 1 Vegeta, 1 Goku, right? For this play. So all I have to do is play it, combo it off, get them into the drop, or just combo them to get them to the drop, and put them at the bottom of my deck to play the 5-drop, then put the 8 on top of it. And the 8 is a 30k double strike with the ability to bounce up to 2 of my opponent's battle cards to their hands, plus it has a nice effect other than a second auto, right, to rip my opponent's, reduce my opponent's hand size down to 3 cards. It also, can bounce up to 2 of my opponent's battle card once I play him, as well as once per turn anytime my opponent plays the skill of a battle card. So once they play a battle card that has a an auto, bang, right, I can just automatically bounce. So imagine if they attack with something that has an auto, like I attack, I'm like, no negate, auto. All right, since you activate your auto, my auto activates. Bounce your battle card back to your hand, plus that other one. Bang. So it has basically a built-in defensive capability, so that's nice. Plus I have my Buu Unison, my Majin Buu Unison, which can -1 and bottom deck a battle card. So I could potentially, get rid of 3 battle cards and stop essentially 3 attacks, potential attacks, just through that Unison and that Gogeta. And obviously a basic tactic would be to keep the Gogeta in active mode, right? So that way my opponent can't attack it and try to run it over with an attack. Since he's dual attack, I can play him, swing with him, just to try to get some damage through, or at least force my opponent to play negates or waste some combo power, restand them, and then just end my turn on that. So that way I can try to get my auto off, because that's the goal, is to try to get the auto off. And it's as soon as turn 3, I can try to get that bad boy up and running. And the idea obviously is just to get to the point where if the effect goes off, my opponent's hand size obviously is so drastically reduced that increases my chances of being able to go for game, and without them being able to retaliate. Obviously I'll be drawing with my Unison, drawing with my leader, right? And my hand size should be nice and thick, that I can easily attack out and combo and guarantee my attack goes through and go for game, right? And that's the idea, is to keep your opponent's hand size under 6 cards, so that way it increases your chances of winning, just because you have a bigger hand size, right? So if you have 6+ cards in your hands, the chances of you being able to combo to the point where your opponent can't out combo for your attack to go through is much higher. So that's one of the ways of playing I'm doing now. Obviously, is that still doing the burn thing, you know, trying to get back into the mill thing, trying to make that a thing again, trying to make sure that all these different ways of, you know, winning, you know, are more consistent, right, more reliable. So that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to do, and that's why I'm trying to find different ways to achieve these goals, so that way I have more than one way of doing it. Because let's say, and I feel it, that might happen, you know, let's say they ban Turning the Tides. Some people have even been saying they expect it to get hit. So if they ban Turning the Tides, well, then I can't use that as my win con anymore, right? So that's why I'm looking into other things, right? I already had my fun, you know, getting me some W's with Turning the Tides, but if it does get hit, you know, and I still want to use this strategy of reducing my opponent's hand size and going for game, then I need to find alternatives. That's where chain attack Zeno, you know, becomes a factor. I don't have to use chain attack trunks. I could just cast, you know, hard cast, you know, Zeno. And the funny thing is that I used to play Zeno before Edge of 17 Turn Tides was a thing. So, you know, I used to, you know, obviously have the Stealth Chain. I didn't get the 7-drop Gogeta until after it got hit, right? After it got banned. So it's like I didn't get a chance to play that card. But it's like, all right, well, I have my Stealth Chain. That's good enough. It pretty much does the same thing. It reduces my opponent's hand size down to 3. That's all I care about. I'll take advantage of that. And then I stopped playing that. You know, I started playing other stuff, but that was the thing that I was doing the most was Cell Chain. But then later on, you know, we got Turning the Tides. It was like, okay, you ban Gogeta 7, but then you give us Turning the Tides. Okay, Bandai, you got a funny sense of humor there, but I'll take it. And of course, I bought me a playset, of course, and you know, been putting it to work. But you know, once you're getting W's with it, it's like, this is cool and all, but I want to try something different. You know what I mean? I could get bored of. I do get bored of winning. So for those who are interested, I do get bored of winning. I mean, I like to win as much as anyone else, but I do get bored of winning. So sometimes I tend to try to look for a challenge. I'm always looking for things to challenge my skills, my mind, my mentality. So I'm always trying to be better and improve. Like once I master a card game, like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, Magic and stuff like that, you know, it's like, okay, I get bored because all I do now is just win, no matter what, right? As DJ Khaled says. So it's like, okay, so all I'm doing is just repeating the same process over and over again, using the same tactics and concepts that I developed over the years, and I'm winning, and that's good. You know, most people, you know, that's their goal, is to get to the point where they can win a lot, and that's good and all. But once I get to that point, it gets boring. It's like, okay, well, I'm at the top of the mountain. Now what? The only thing left is to go back down, right? Not much to do up here once you get to the top. So once you get to that point, like I have, then you start looking elsewhere. And that's just the type of person I am. So it's like, once I, you know, get good at something, it's like, okay, what's next? What else can I get good at? So that's why I'm at Dragon Ball Super, and I'm very close to completing my mastery of the game, and I'll be moving on to other games shortly. One Piece probably be the next game. We'll see. Because right now I consider myself like 95% mastered of Dragon Ball Super. The remaining 5% is the mastered Ultra Instinct, as I call it. Trying to get to my final form, which is the ability to just do 8 damage with little to no effort. You know. I'm definitely getting there. Right now, most of my strategy is deal 4 damage in the first 2 turns of the game, and then like mid to late game finish my opponent off. Now I would like to do it sooner than later. I would like to finish my opponent off between turn 3 and 4. You know, do the last 4 damage turn 3 and 4, because you know, competitively we have time. Time is a bitch, right? Time becomes a palm. You know, if I don't beat my opponent fast enough, And if my win con is turn 5 or turn 6, it gets tough when it comes to time, because if game 1 took long and I did get to turn 5, for example, or turn 6 and won, all right, that's good that I won game 1. But in game 2, the game could be a lot faster. I might not get to turn 5, so I need to play a little bit faster, and then it becomes a game of life, as it were. It becomes a time game, and we're playing with time as opposed to playing with skill and strategy, right? We're playing with time, so it'd be harder for me to get to turn 5 or 6 after that, especially if my opponent's sided in and they're trying to stop me from doing my win con and stuff like that. So they're putting in a lot more effort in game 2, so that makes it harder, obviously, for me to win if my opponent put in the extra effort and cards literally to combat me, to counter. Let's say game 1 they didn't have Godzilla Trunks. Well, game 2 they put in Godzilla Trunks, so now I gotta deal with that, right? But like I said, element of surprise. You want to stand out. I still have some people, just debating with me, right, about play styles, about if I'm good or not. Some people want receipts, they want proof, even though I have over 60 videos of me playing the game, and I do plan to record more videos, more some live duels and stuff like that. It's just that life, I'm busy, and I moved from one location to another. I've been at my new location for like maybe a week. I moved in last week and stuff, so just trying to get trying to settle in, trying to organize my room, because I have a whole bunch of stuff there, and I have a whole bunch of stuff that's still packed up. I still haven't finished unboxing a lot of my stuff, and still got to organize everything, and set up a system in which I can do a lot of stuff that I'm doing, because I have other things that I do besides play card games. So I got to make sure I can handle that stuff but still make time for card games and vice versa. So there's time management stuff need to be incorporated. Well, we just got internet in the house, so that's awesome, and it should be really good internet. So yeah, because we have unlimited internet unlimited data, so I should be able to stream. Definitely going to test out what is it called? I'm going to try to do a live stream this week, like hopefully on Saturday. Do some live stream on Twitch and see the quality of the internet and Twitch at that time. Also try to jump on Untap, see if the internet at the crib is better than the internet at work, because the internet here is not that good, especially for Untap. It lags too much. A game that normally probably would have lasted maybe 20 minutes at most takes 40 minutes to complete. And it's like that's some bullshit. And I'm not even playing slow. It's just that the website, the internet is literally slow, so it just takes long, and then all this clicking and all this. Yeah, I like the fact that Untap exists. I just hate that it's, well, in the situation I'm in, I hate that it's extremely slow. I hate the fact that something that normally would take 20 minutes, taking 40 minutes, something that would take 30 minutes, taking an hour. Like the fact that it takes twice as long for me to finish a game is ridiculous. It's bad enough that I gotta deal with slow play in real life, let alone slow play because of lag. So lag does suck, especially when you're trying to play a card game, right? I mean, lag sucks, period, if you're trying to play any type of game. But anyway, hopefully I have less lag with the awesome home internet, so hopefully that works out. So then I should be able to get a lot more games back to back with that. What else? Talking about, being unpredictable. Oh yeah, because the main thing about, like, not just, it's always good, even if you play a deck that is like, you net decked or something like that, you should still try to change it and modify it a little bit, so that way you can guarantee that you still have the element of surprise. Even if somebody's like, oh, you're playing King Piccolo, No surprise there. I've played against that deck many times. You want them, once you start playing the person, to be like, oh, okay, this is different. I never played against this build. Exactly. You know, you don't want somebody to be able to say that they beat that deck before, so that's an easy win for them, right? You don't want no one thinking that. Well, let them think that. That means they're underestimating your deck's power, right? You should always try to make everything you play stronger than it is. Don't assume that your net deck is perfect. That there is no improvement. There's always room for improvement. Shit, I've been improving a lot of my decks. That's why I still play a lot of old leaders and stuff like that, because there's always improvements. Every new set brings new toys, tools, whatever you want to call it, brings new life to old strategies, old leaders, which is why I'm reusing a lot of old strategies. Like Chain Zeno is nothing new. I didn't invent Chain Zeno. I just own the cards. I know of the strategy, and it's like, time to bring it back. You know. I still got my 6-drop Bobbity in order to chain Bobbity and do chain attack Trunks Bobbity combo. I have to use 6 red mana, obviously, right? Gotta have 6 red energy, but I can do it. Right? I can do it. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. Mentioned earlier, I got my Violent Rage. Yeah, that'll be going for my peel-off deck, which uses chain. So it's my peel-off crew chain Zeno deck. And this is the Violent Rage for that deck. So that's pretty cool. I've been, of course, doing test hands, and I played on Untap. So I got a little bit of practice with the deck. So that is awesome. Another strategy, that different taxes. I think I mentioned that earlier. That I didn't come up with the name. That's a magic term for a deck called different taxes. I actually don't know how the deck works. I'm just assuming that you do make things cost more to play. So that's one thing. But I don't know about the death part. Maybe there's kill spells in there, and that's why it's called death and taxes. But I don't know, because I don't play those types of strategies. I build my own strategies, obviously, but it's the fact that I've heard the term many times, death and taxes. So I'm like, okay, there you go. Let me call this strategy death and taxes. Because ironically, if you play a card, you'll take damage, and damage equals you losing. So death tax or death tax, as opposed to death and taxes, death tax. So if you play something, you die. So death tax. The tax is you die. Death tax. Whatever. Anyway, so that kind of thinking, even getting inspiration from other games and bringing it over into this game, for example, because this game obviously copies largely from Magic and many other mana-based card games, right? Like Force of Will and stuff like that. So and definitely this game copies off of Duel Masters. But anyway, the thing is, taking strategies that work really well in those games and bringing them over to this game, it does translate well, and you can get a lot of benefits from it. Which is why I do what I do. I mean, just because I like to play card games and I like to use what I use. But part of why I do spend time, even if, for example, if there's a strategy that I'm not going to use, but I know I can just put together a deck using that strategy, I'll put it together and share it. Even if I'm not going to use it myself, I'll share it so that way other people can have the opportunity to use it. This is where it gets to the scenario where some people will complain and be like, do you even test these decks? Do you even test that deck? Is this deck even good? Blah, 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 And it's like, it's good because I made it. And I have experience, many, many years of experience, over 20 years of experience playing card games. So yes, the deck's good even if I don't play the deck, because I build it based off of a strategy, a concept that I've already used in other games, and it's just easily transferable to this game because the concept's still the same, right? Play your turn 2 card on turn 2, play your turn 3 on turn 3, play your turn 4 card, play your turn 5 card, play your turn 6 card, and play your turn 7 card, and you win, right? As an hypothetical example. But typically, I try to win by turn 4 at least, So I'm always looking for like a turn 3, maybe turn 4 win con, ideally. But some win cons that I've found are typically turn 5, turn 6. Turning tides is a turn 7, but then I found ways to obviously ramp to try to get it out at least turn 5 at the earliest, at least turn 5. So that kind of stuff. But I was like, turn 4 chain attached trunks, or chain Zeno. That's essentially the same thing as, or at least almost the same thing as playing Android 17 turn of the ties, or Gogeta 7 or Cell chain. Like, it's almost good enough. It's a 2-card combo where I could reduce my opponent's hand size down to 5, especially if they have a 30-card hand size. Yes, please sign me up, right? So, so that's the kind of stuff I'm putting out there for those who are interested in using them. I've seen some people interested in my peel-off deck, so that's nice to see that some people appreciate it. And that is one of my decks. I do eventually plan to play it competitively. But right now, I'm gonna be playing Hat Check for a bit. While I'm, building all these, building and testing these other decks, but I'll be playing Hat Check for a bit. Because it's been long overdue for me to play Hat Check. So, gonna be doing that. So, of course, I've been working on some spice. I also got to record a deck profile for one of my Hat Check ideas. It's a unison base. Well, obviously, right? Unison based Hat Check deck. Nothing new, right? But it's mono black. It's not one of those colored Hat Check unison decks. It's a black. So it's going to mimic the drip cool concept, basically. The fact of playing a whole bunch of 1-drop, black unisons, so that I'm going along those lines. So that's what I'm doing. Going to be turn 1, turn 2, drop 2 more unisons, right? So I drop a unison turn 1, right? Swing, right? Drop 2 unisons turn 2, right? Swing. So I should at least 3 damage turns in the first 2 turns, right? And then turn 3, then I can finally awaken my leader and swing with the leader and unison, and then maybe play another unison that has empowered, for example, and just swing, extra on that. So that would be an extra 3. So by turn 3, I could be potentially doing 6 damage. And that's just with unisons, and they're going to be strong because they'll go from 15 to 20k. So even if my so they're by default they're going to start off 15, and then they'll like eventually jump up to 20k. So even if my opponent does awaken early, I'm still able to hit. So it won't be 10k, right? It'll be 15, 20k, right? That kind of stuff. So you get the idea. And I also want them to make more empowered cards, more black empowered unisons, so that way I can obviously try to incorporate it into the strategy. And I'm using a Go Tanks overwhelm card that can get really, really strong. Basically, it's just mimicking Mirror Creator Absorb, but instead of trying to use Champa and Mirror, right? It has its own built-in way of giving itself Champa, basically, and I could pump it up 10k for each energy I play. So it's like that kind of strategy. Trying different things, and that's the thing. Always try different things, because in case some of the the best cards in the game get banned or hit and stuff like that, you can't be like, oh no, I can't play what I want to play no more because the good stuff got hit. There are alternatives. Play the alternatives, right? Be different, right? Try to be unpredictable. Don't do what's predictable, right? Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. Do things differently on purpose so that you can get better results. Especially if you think about it, if you do what everybody else is doing and you're losing, that's why you're losing, because you're doing what everybody else is doing, and what you're doing is predictable, and everybody already knows how to deal with it. Everybody already has experience against it. Bring something new to the table. Literally, bring something new. Bring unique, different deck with different lines of plays, different strategies. You know, think for yourself. Stop doing what everybody else is doing. Right? Think for yourself, and you'll get way better results. It works for me. I'm just saying it might work for you. And that's the end of the podcast.